Hello and welcome to yet another Saturday with us here at Enterprise TV. It's Enterprise Weekend, by the way. I'm Chinyere Igwe Ojo.
And I am Henry Igwe.
Henry, the rumored price reduction of cost of food. You know what still happened to me? I went to the market yesterday. I still bought rice at very exorbitant rates. I don't know if you've bought anything less than how you used to buy before.
Yeah, well, I had the rumor that a bag of rice now goes for 65,000. How true that is, I think I still need to go check it out myself to really know if it's true. But I just pray, and we all wish as Nigerians that this will, begin to, touch every goods and services in the marketplace.
Absolutely. We would love to hear from you what you think about the cost of food in the market. Of course, do follow us on all our social media handles showing on your screen. Let's try this size. Nigerian cross-dresser Idris Okuneye, otherwise known as Bobrisky, has spent his first full night out of a 6-month sentence behind bars, having been convicted and sentenced for mutilating the Naira.
Yes, but reactions have continued to pour in as to why he wasn't given an option of fine, since he was a first-time offender who pressed the guilty.
The concern for many is that it was Bobrisky's first offense and he pleaded guilty. Also, there were other persons who were spraying money at the same event, yet are still walking free.
Activist and lawyer Deji Adeyanju, a fiery rights advocate Aisha Yusufu, and influencer Japhet Omojua are among many who have expressed their misgiving about Bobrisky's sentencing.
Adeyanju faulted the court's decision to sentence Bobrisky to jail without the option of fine. Doing justice to the topic on the review is Emeka Madunago. He's a journalist and a veteran public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Emeka.
Yeah, good morning. I'm enjoying this, but as for veteran, we'll
allow me to say you're a veteran, Emeka. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Okay, so Bobrisky has been in the eye of the storm for a while now, since he was arrested, and then yesterday we saw the sentencing. But before then, on the 4th of February, one actress, Oluwadara Asimi, was arrested for the same offense. She was sentenced to court for to serve for 6 months in jail. But the uproar for Bobrisky's case is what I do not still understand. I mean, there are a lot of theories around this particular issue. Maybe because he's a cross-dresser or about his gender. But I mean, spraying of money or Naira mutilation is something that's deeply entrenched in our culture. For me, personally, I think the court's decision, was rather a bit draconian. But as a veteran journalist who has a wealth of knowledge, help us understand if the court made the right decision at this time, and if this, if the sentencing can be appealed, and then if this is enough reason to, inform or educate Nigerians to stay away from Naira mutilation, which we see happen almost every weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I'll start this way. The law is the law. Like they say, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Although that is a colonial, that's an expression that was derived from the colonial era. Because in the law, it said that, you can also make an honest mistake. And then there is also the provision for consideration of somebody who is a first-time offender. So putting all of this together, the fellow known as Bobrisky, of course, was sufficiently aware of the fact that spraying the Naira, amounted to mutilating the currency, and that it came with punishment under the law. But you see, we go on to the point where it is the court, where we have to agree that it is the court that decides how to apply the law. Well, in the consideration of the judge, with due respect to the court, it is that, okay, an offense that has an option of fine, the judge decided to look away from the option of fine to the option of sentencing, of conviction. You see, and that is one thing with such provisions of the law, where you have a double-edged, provision. 50,000 Naira or 6 months in prison. you know. And the other thing is that you have to look at current developments. The government and the anti-graft agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, have really expressed concern. They've expressed serious concern about the spraying of the Naira and mutilation of Naira. Of course, carried out campaigns to, you know, sensitize Nigerians to the fact that these things are not acceptable, and urging people to stop. And you can see at certain events, you know, it is announced, usually announced that please don't spray the Naira. Instead, put it in a basket or in a box or in a bag, you know. So the consciousness is widespread. Now, I don't know why Bobrisky's lawyers asked him to plead guilty, because why I use him, even though he's a cross-dresser, is that he identified himself as male before the judge. So I'll just follow the trend of events. Now, I don't know why because when you plead guilty, is a slippery slope, you know, which might not turn out in the way it is intended. You know, you might just end up with unintended consequences, which is what we are seeing now. Having pleaded guilty, there was a hope that, you know, he will be fined and maybe convicted or just given a slap on the wrist. But instead, it has turned out that the full weight of the law, as it is said, has been brought to bear on him. So, all put together, I think, yes, even though it's been a part of our cultural milieu for decades, but you see, culture evolves. Culture is not static. You know, culture is not static. So culture also has to, change with the times. I mean, if it is now becoming offensive in the eyes of the law for people to spray Naira, I think people generally, whether Nigerians or foreigners, should begin to adjust to these things so that, you know, we can have a society that operates on the rule of law and natural justice.
All right. Of course, you know, in as much as we accept the fact that mutilating the Naira is an offense according to the law, and of course which is punishable also according to the law. But I think it's very important we understand that what goes for the goose also goes for the gander. And the question is, why is it the consequence for such an action? Why is it selective? We've seen severally on social media where those in authority engage in such practices of mutilating the Naira, spraying the Naira at will. But the long arm of the law don't seem to go for them. So why can't this be seen as a selective consequence of on someone that they feel is a soft target?
Well, like I said earlier, the law is the law. Yes, those are interpretations, soft target, LGBTQ, cross-dresser. Those are extraneous interpretations. The law looks at the facts of the case, not the dressing, you know, of the suspects, you know, or certain things, you know, around the suspects. No, the law doesn't look at that. So yes, it might be interpreted that, oh, the law was too harsh on him. Maybe, because of course you cannot prove it in fact, that maybe, oh, because of his way of dressing, his peculiar way of dressing, his peculiar way of, you know, appearing in public and all of that. Yes, those are extraneous interpretations, you know, beyond what the court has pronounced. But I think where the problem really lies is the fact that the lawyers asked him to plead guilty. I mean, it should have been an open-ended plea, such that, you know, well, if at the end of the, as it has turned out that the court has now sentenced, it will apply the full sentence, then he has the option of appeal. He could have gone on appeal to say no, that due to extraneous, that this sentence was applied as a result of extraneous circumstances. But right now, what he's left with is to plead for a lighter sentence. And you see, the strange thing about these things is that before his, if he goes to the appeal court, he may be out of jail by the time the court even starts sitting on his appeal for a lighter sentence. So of what use would it be to just end up as an academic exercise? So I also think, with due respect to the courts, that the fact that he pleaded guilty should have been, also should have, weighed, should have weighed in his favor. And he also offered to be a social crusader against the practice. You see, the reason why Nigerian prisons were renamed correctional centers is that they are supposed to be places for reformation and transformation of individuals. We should move away from this punitive colonial mentality that somebody commits an offense and must be taught a lesson, quote unquote. Because you see, there are offenses that arise as a result of maybe ignorance, like I've said, honest mistakes, maybe exuberance, and yes, in this case, yes, you can say, an actress has been convicted. There have been, we've seen highly placed people doing it. But you see, just like the case of, a man, a young man, or two young men who love going to parties and coming back home late, and scaling the fence into their homes. Maybe the father of one has a gun, the father of the other one doesn't have a gun. So the other one may just look away. The one that has a gun may look away, don't mind this boy, he's the one. But the one that doesn't have a gun may call the police and say, I'm not sure of who is scaling my fence. I think it's an armed robber. And anything could result. So I think also it should serve as a strong warning to people, to Nigerians generally, that the law is the law. It's only when you now appear before the court that, well, anything can happen. It's a 50-50 chance that the court might be swayed by certain, by the plea of the defendant's lawyer, to maybe temper justice with mercy. Otherwise, it could, the full sentence may be applied.
Absolutely, Emeka. Thank you so much. Now, I like that you say this should sound as a deterrent factor, a strong warning to, offenders who might likely fall into the same pit. Because somewhere in the read, Bobrisky had said he's oblivious of the law, of what the law stipulates in terms of Naira mutilation. But do you think this is enough warning? I saw a video a couple of days ago on social media. I don't know what the veracity of that video is in terms of if that happened after Bobrisky was arrested, because when I looked at the comment section, some people were saying, you see, someone done the spray money again even after Bobrisky was arrested. Now, answer if this is enough punitive measure to keep people in abeyance of falling in the same pit. That's one. Two, what's the role of the media in terms of sensitizing enough sensitization for the populace to be aware, acutely aware that, this is something that, shouldn't be done? Newspapers, radio, television, shouldn't the NOA engage the media richly so to ensure that, jingles are up there running and everything?
Okay, let me start this way. We must know that in the 21st century, social media, social media plays a very strong role. If you go to Bobrisky's social media accounts, especially Instagram, I don't know how many followers he has, but he must have a followers count that runs into hundreds of thousands. So that could even weigh heavily against somebody like him, because the court will look at it that, okay, you are a bad influence in society. look at the large number of followers you have, that is on Instagram. And then if you look at the wider social impact this person has, this wider social influence, this person has. I look at it that, okay, that this person, well, from all the facts before the court, deliberately committed this offense and intends to stir people, to instigate people against the law, to disobey the law. And that could lead to anarchy, that could lead to breakdown of the society. So the court might say, okay, let us apply the maximum sentence to make sure we pass the message across, because, it is a trending topic right now. So there are so many people, who know about the fact that a fellow called Bobrisky has been sentenced to 6 months in prison for spraying the Naira, and so they are aware of it, that, okay, if you spray the Naira, you will go to jail. There are chances that that the person will go to jail. That's fine. So, yes, the National Orientation Agency should actually embark on, and the media should sensitize the public to the gravity of the offense, because let's look at it. The currency of every nation is a strong national symbol. You cannot toy with the dollar or with the pound or with the euro. Such things are not taken lightly. Like a friend of mine was telling me that in some Western nations, if you slap a policeman, or you assault a policeman, it's taken as if you declared war on the nation. Or if you hit a light pole on the street, that such a thing is
not taken lightly,
very heavily, very seriously. But there are certain other offenses that can be overlooked. The person might be discharged and acquitted with a warning. But that there are certain things that are ingrained in the society that are just forbidden, if you permit me to use that word, expressly forbidden. So, to that extent, I think Nigerians themselves should also look at it, that if it is being said, all said and done, that spraying the Naira is wrong, it doesn't matter who is doing it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter who is doing it. You don't have to copy wrong examples. Even if the president is spraying the Naira, or even if a governor is spraying the Naira, that doesn't mitigate the severity of the offense.
All right, Emeka, I would love us to look at this finally, or hopefully, before we leave today. Let's look at this mutilation of the Naira from another prism or perspective. The creative industry in Nigeria is booming. Entertainment industry is becoming bigger and bigger every other day. And of course, in the creative industry, you would understand that there's what is called artistic license. Right, where in our musical videos we see directors, as part of his creative license, allowing the use of our currency, sprayed and all. So the question is, how do we draw the line between creative license, right, not going against the law, and creative license being part of the industry, which is a money earner to the industry and to our economy in Nigeria?
You see, it's very simple. The creative industry is a force for societal influence, a very strong force. So, you see, there was a time in the recent past when a campaign was launched to stop smoking in movies. Open smoking, and drinking in movies. I think to some extent that has been applied. It has been successfully applied. I don't think there are many movies where you see people smoking, especially. All of these things are just meant to pass subtle messages, because in any society you have the hard power, you have the soft power, and usually the soft power, has more strength than the hard power. So little things, like I said, yes, it's not just about being able to handle the big things, but also understanding the little things. something as little as that, if we can teach our children to treat our currency with dignity, it also, you know, touches on us as individuals.
Absolutely.
How does the Nigerian view himself or herself? How does the Nigerian view his fellow Nigerian? How does the Nigerian view things that are, you know, are around our, you know, national heritage?
Right.
These things are very, very important. And yes, I know that the issue of the LGBTQ will, some people will try to play up on it, maybe globally, but the point is, let people respect the Naira. Indeed. And stop spraying it.
Let people respect the Naira. Emeka Madunagu, a veteran journalist across the board, has been our guest today, and it's been quite instructive. Thank you so much. Emeka.
Thank you very much.
Simply appreciate you. Henry, my takeaway would be that I like that Emeka said our cultures, the things that served us in the past, that no longer serves us.
Okay.
We should begin to weed it out, you know, and then, you know, put it in the bin and embrace newer things that really serves our purpose now.
Yeah, very true. And at the same time, I would love to use this opportunity to appeal on the Central Bank of Nigeria. Please, if we must really, you know, take the campaign for the mutilation of Naira home, then it should start from you. If the mutilated Naira we have in circulation today are still all around the place, and without the CBN retracting them and converting them to newer ones, then I don't think the case of mutilation would come to a glorious end.
Absolutely. We hope that that's a clarion call.
Exactly.
Now. And that's the side of our program today. Thank you so much for viewing and liking. Remember, you can follow us on all our social media rostrum at Enterprise TV7, and do well to log on to our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chinyere Igwe Odru.
And I am Henry Ikoyi. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.